Hi friends, welcome back. I just wanted to provide a quick update about the case on August 29th, 2025 with regards to Gibson Kwa and Iris Ko's case in the courtroom, which I was there to witness myself after the lunch break. I think, based on everything I've read online, I'm allowed to state what I heard happen in the courtroom as long as I'm being very accurate or as accurate as is possible. If I do paraphrase any of the sentences, I'll try not to paraphrase any of them. We were not allowed to bring in any recording devices, of course, or do any recording, so I didn't. So, therefore, the words might be off by one or two words, but those will probably be filler words, and I'll try to keep it as accurate as I can. So, here are some of the interesting things that I heard the witness say when the prosecution was questioning him. The witness did explain, upon the prosecution's questioning, that some of his statements, I believe the police statement, I don't know how many police statements there are personally because I'm new to this case, but whatever police statement they were referring to, and the statement for MOH, I don't know if you want to consider that as for MOH or from MOH, but basically a statement to the Ministry of Health, I believe, which he was probably made to have given, differed. Sorry, they were rather similar, but apparently both of those were quite different from another statement which he was making. This is my understanding. This is not a fact. This is my understanding. Um, in terms of the other statement, like which one it is, I believe what must have happened from my gathering of the events is he must have said something rather different in court. And the prosecution was, at the point when I entered, questioning him on why that account, probably a more recent account, and I think I'm accurate on that, was different from his earlier two statements, or more than two, to the police and the MOH. And what he said was really interesting. He said his statements were different because the police actually intimidated him, or if we're going to be even more accurate, he felt scared or intimidated and a little in shock. He used the word shock. He was a little shocked at the proceedings or the behavior of the police, and he went into some detail but not too much, and he was a bit intimidated and shocked, and he said that's why he gave the statements that he did earlier. Now, I do believe the judge mentioned the word oppression. I could have heard that wrong. We were quite far away and he was speaking quite quietly, but they did mention that there was no oppression, whatever that means in legal terms, or he was asking the witness if there was. That I do recall. And I also recall at one point the witness saying that the the police asked him, and this goes into Singlish. Uh, so the police asked him like either variation of this question, which actually means the same thing. One would be, uh, you got see police beat people before or not, or the other one, which is you never see police beat people before. I can't remember which exactly it was because I don't have a recording device, but that's what it was. So it was one of these two. And so he said that he got scared by that and sort of followed along with what the police said to write in some of those statements. They didn't go into detail on, they didn't go into full details, although he did go like line by line and say, this was what I intended to say, this was what I didn't, and so on. And I believe the official press might report that soon. But he did say that there were several lines in there which he did not mean, which were not true. One of the main ones, I believe, being that he doesn't know whether he was vaccinated or not. He said only the doctor would know that because he did, I believe he did say the phrase, I didn't see. So, and that sounds quite logical because honestly, when somebody's getting a vaccine, even when I got my vaccine, I didn't look down, I looked away actually. Um, so that makes logical sense. How would he know if he was looking away, right? Unless he's using his sixth sense or something. And most of the human population doesn't even believe in a sixth sense, although some of us do. But anyway, it's another topic for another day. But I just wanted to provide that update. And he also said that they went into his home without a warrant. The police went into his home without a warrant and said, we're going to search this. And he was still in the state of being scared and confused and shocked and agreed to let them go in. Um, my gathering from the look on his face and his words is that he probably didn't think he had a choice. That's my personal opinion on his psychological, like his behavior from a psychological standpoint. That's my opinion. I could be wrong, but he said he went along, and I guess went along can be construed to mean that he didn't really have a choice. You can phrase it however you want to, but his phrasing was, uh, and it was in Singlish again, I believe. It was just like, so they just enter my house, I just let them go, something like that. And so they went into his house to search, and he said he's not sure what they were searching for, and quite frankly, I'm not sure either. But that was interesting because I I believe that the judge was asking him to describe in as much detail as he could, and the judge was listening to him very intently and making some notes. And so these are a few interesting things that happened in the court on 29th August. I'm going back tomorrow, which is 1st September, on Monday, 2025, to see what happens there. But he also did mention that he felt, or he thought, or it seemed, one of these three words, I can't be sure of the exact word, that when the MOH statement was taken later, after the police statements, the MOH seemed to know what the police had been talking to him about, or it seemed like they were all communicating with each other. That's what he said. Um, because they seemed to be asking him to say similar things, or at least they seemed to be asking him similar questions. That was his version, that they seemed to be asking him similar questions. Like, it all sounded to him like they all wanted him to say the same thing. And I believe he also did mention in plain English that they they did say something about, um, I can't be sure of that, so I can't report that. But yeah, I can't be sure of that last one, which was something about implicating Iris Co. I'm not sure if that was said or not said, as we have no recording devices, and I was already quite ill when I went to court that day. And I'm still a bit ill. I'm unwell. I'm actually running a fever right now. But I thought this was an interesting point that people would want to hear. So he did mention that the police went into his home. He did mention that there was, uh, they were sort of threatening him. I'm not sure if physically or not. He did mention that, but he did mention their words, which sounded like a little threatening, in my opinion. To me, if they used those words on me, which he said, I would feel a little threatened, depending on their physical makeup. Obviously, I mean, that's just a male thing. It's proven science. It's how we size up like another person of the same species. So, you know, it is surprising. I believe the judge was surprised a little from the look on his face. Um, can't speak for him, but in my view and opinion, he looked surprised, and um, so did the lawyer, because he kept quiet for a while. He stopped for a while, and so I had my mouth open, and I believe even Iris was a bit shocked when she and Gibson were on the side in the stand, whatever that box is called on the side. Everyone was a bit shocked for a while. There was like a moment of silence when he said they just went into my home without asking or without permission, without a warrant. And he also said that they intimidated me when it was time to write my statement. And uh, intimidated is my word. His words were what I told you earlier, which is what they said in Singlish. And he said there was an older police officer who was, I believe, he believes were in charge of the younger was in charge of the younger police officers who was making that statement. The judge did ask him for that police officer's name, and he said he couldn't recall. That I remember for sure. And but he did recall some of the other people's names, like the ones who was taking his statement, for example. And also, there was something in one of the statements. It was a name of a lady, which sounded like a Muslim lady's name or a Malay lady's name. It sounded like a lady's name to me and him as well, because he did say this part of the statement, I believe referring to his own official statement, is like there was no Muslim or Malay lady there taking my statement, so I don't know whose name this is in the statement. He said that as well. Now, for reporting actual occurrences in the court, I believe we're not allowed to um, say what they felt. That's why I've always said throughout this video that those are my opinions of how they are feeling. What I'm gathering, it could be completely inaccurate, so you can ask them. Um, but we are allowed to say what happened and what we heard. And of course, we leave it to the justice system and the courts to decide what happens next. What happens next? I've also seen on social media that the police and the MOH or at least some members of them, will be being questioned. Will be questioned in the court on Monday or Tuesday. So make it down if you'd like to. I will try my best to be there and learn more about this case. It's a very interesting case. I'm just going to walk away from the traffic here. It's a very interesting case, and I feel that we can learn a lot. I'm learning a lot about how the courts work. That's one of the most interesting things for me. But we're also learning about um, cases and uh, what is considered lawful in Singapore, what isn't. Of course, majorly that's through your own research. Obviously, in the court, they don't say this is allowed, this is not allowed, and so on. But that's through your own research. But it's a nice trigger and moment of inspiration for me to find out more about the Singapore law and so on. And so it was very interesting to see what that witness said. And it was, I believe it was rather shocking to a few people that the police just entered his home without a warrant. And so that's one of my takeaways. And also that they used intimidation. Intimidation's my word. I'm just calling what he said about what they said. I'm calling that intimidation because he seemed a bit shaken. Honestly, some of us might not be intimidated by that, or we might be intimidated by that. It really depends on the person's psychological makeup. But he seemed a little shaken by that. In fact, in court, I'm just commenting on my own view and opinion at this point about how he seemed. He was speaking slow, pausing, and a little bit afraid. This is my personal view and assessment on his behavior in the court. At some points, he was relaxed. He was, I believe, he was rather relieved and relaxed because the judge was a very kind judge, right? I was relieved and relaxed actually, just listening to the judge talk, and I was like, oh wow, like it's a safe space in a sense, like as I say in my counseling work, it's a safe space to say whatever you want to say. Um, and more importantly, say the truth also, like say your own opinions but tell us what actually happened. That seemed, in my opinion, to be the vibe of the judge. And that was an amazing experience for me. I actually wished I had brought my daughter along, which was at school, to see, how this judge is listening to the case. I quite enjoyed that. At one point I was personally upset with the lawyer a little bit, my own feeling about this, where, because when at the start, when I came in after lunch, the witness was saying that his statements, he didn't intend to write what he wrote in the statements, what was written in the statement. And the lawyer, just for layman speak, the lawyer said, but he said something to the effect of, I'm confused, but you, no, sorry, he did say, but you had a chance to verify this before signing it. Am I right? And that back and forth went on for a while, like good 20-25 seconds at least, where the witness said, yes, I did. And then the lawyer is saying, so why would you say that you didn't intend to? Or the lawyer said, the lawyer was a little upset that the witness kept answering his question, saying that he did have the time to verify, but kept saying that that's not what he intended to write. That's right, that's what happened. And so the lawyer was a little like, saying things like, but you just said that you had this. Am I right to understand that? And then the witness said, yes, but I didn't intend to. And so then I believe the rest of the afternoon was, um, as the witness kept saying, I haven't given you all the details yet, but I'll give them to you later. And the rest of the afternoon was spent figuring out why the statements didn't match. And that's when finally the witness spoke up and said, they intimidated me around the time of signing, so I went along with what they were looking for because I wasn't sure how to respond and what to write and what not to write. That's my gathering, that he wasn't sure. I can't remember the exact words he used, whether they were shocked, scared, or um, upset, but it was a synonym for one of these words. He was basically saying he didn't know what to do. That's my summary of it. He didn't know what to do, so or rather, not even he didn't know what to do, but he went along with the version that they wanted. I believe that's accurate paraphrasing of what he said, because he did say something to that effect, or very, very close to it. And that's why it was different. He also said that in this part was also a bit surprising to me, and he said that he actually hoped that somebody would spot the discrepancies, um, and actually hear his full story at some point. And I believe that was August 29th. And or not the full story, but at least the parts that he wanted to say, if we're being very, very accurate. So that's what he said, and that was an interesting. I heard that it's an interesting turn of events in the case. I just went to court on Friday. That was my first day there after lunch, and so yeah, I'll be back on Monday. So stay tuned for more reporting of this case. I will follow up with the authorities to see if this style of commentary is great, is allowed, it's great, it's wonderful, and I can continue. If they say this is not allowed, then obviously they'll probably make me take this video down. So enjoy it while it's up there. Yeah. So I look forward to seeing what's happening on Monday, and if I may add a little bit of a spiritual note to it, or maybe that's better material for another video. I don't think that we should punish people for nothing. And in fact, my personal views on how we remand, or not remand, but how we I don't want to say a lawful society, but how we ensure, and I don't even want to say orderly, because all this goes against spirituality, uh, unless it's done via free will. So how we, okay, let's say it this way, how we would maintain an orderly, kind, nice, loving, functioning, efficient, um, drug-free or harmful substances-free, disease-free, so on society, with free will, um, with everybody's free will being exercised, is what I would like to aim for us as a planet, which is where you don't even need to like sort of like punish people and throw them in jail, because everyone's already doing stuff that's really helpful for each other. That's what we're aiming for, I think. At least that's what I'm aiming for. So I hope you like my content, and take it easy, and see you guys on the next one. Thank you so much, and bye bye.